It's an honest statement. MoveOn.org didn't come up with that conclusion. Admiral Fallon came up with that conclusion. Admiral Fallon is General Petraeus' direct boss at the Central Command. He used some terminology regarding General Petraeus I can't repeat in this sanctuary. But it wasn't very kind. It dealt with basically being able to sit with him, kiss him. A man who will say anything to please his boss. We have a duty and responsibility as citizens to call this kind of irresponsible behavior out. Remember, General Petraeus works for us. We don't work for General Petraeus. And so when the man whom we employ is not behaving properly, we have a duty and responsibility as we the people to say, no, this is not correct, this is not right. But we're not doing that. We seem intimidated by the fact that he wears a uniform, he has 4 stars, he's a general, and we can't criticize a general in time of war, because that would be betraying the troops. It's a betrayal of the troops not to criticize irresponsible leadership. One of the great books that deals with this subject is a book called Dereliction of Duty, written by an Army officer named H.R. McMaster. He wrote it when he was a major, studied at the School of Advanced Military Studies in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. It took the Joint Chiefs of Staff to task for their behavior in the Vietnam War. It said they did not do what they could do. They did not behave honorably. They did not behave with integrity. That they allowed lies to be sold to the president. They didn't stand up and say no when they needed to stand up and say no. As a result, the Vietnam War dragged on and on and on. Unfortunately, H.R. McMaster got promoted to lieutenant colonel, and they got promoted to colonel. And today, he's one of General Petraeus' chief deputies, and he's behaving in a manner reminiscent of the same dereliction of duty that he criticized the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We need to call these things out, ladies and gentlemen. That's our responsibility as American citizens, especially in time of war. But how do we do this? We've got a handful of people in this church. Where do we begin? Well, the first thing we have to recognize is that we're doing the right job. Right is on our side, all right? But we have to define what right is. We have to have some way of saying this is who we are and what we are. In the military, we call it a center of gravity. We have to define our center of gravity. What do we stand for collectively? And it has to be simple. One of the big problems in the activist group is that you stand for a lot of things. A whole bunch of things. And no, I'm good at it. The problem is, when it comes time to explain this to the American public, you only have a small window of opportunity to get your message across. One of the other things we have to recognize is that we are at war. I don't mean in Iraq. You can hear it at home. I know you don't like to hear it. You're an anti-war group. We're not at war. America. No. You're engaged in a life and death ideological struggle which will define the future of our nation, the future of our children. It is a war, ladies and gentlemen. You have an enemy. There is an enemy out there in America today who seeks to destroy you as a politically viable entity. And should you not recognize that that enemy is there, should you not develop strategies, tactics, and linking operational plot to deal with this enemy, you will be reduced to insignificance. You will become a meaningless force in the American political dynamic. You're at war, so it's high time you start organizing yourselves to fight the war. And that's why I speak of the art of war for the anti-war movement. You need to recognize that there is an enemy, you are in conflict. I'm not saying to fix bayonets and commit violent acts. No. That's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of organizing for conflict, ideological conflict. You need to get your message out effectively. You need to bring in, attract people to your group, broaden your membership, and then organize this group. One of the reasons why there's so few people in this audience is that people have lost faith in the ability of the anti-war movement to do anything more than have a demonstration or a vigil. We're very good at holding hands, lighting candles, and singing Kumbaya. We're not very good at getting something meaningfully accomplished in the halls of Congress. The National Rifle Agency is very good at doing this. The pharmaceutical companies are very good at doing this. They have organized themselves, and they are well funded to accomplish this task. And people say, well, we don't have the money. You ever heard of guerrilla warfare? You think the Viet Cong had the defense budget of the United States of America? They sort of slapped us around in Vietnam for a number of years. Why? Organization. They had organization. They had a strategy. They had tactics. They had operational methodologies that linked the tactics to the strategy. And they had the notion of a campaign to sustain this activity over a period of time to achieve victory. But I'm talking about war. Let's bring up something that's maybe not war. People say, Scott, these activists can't organize. You try, you're going to speak to your blue in the face. Wow. What's that say about the American labor movement? One of the most heavily activist groups in American social history. Were they not organized? Are they not organized? Of course they are. Saul Alinsky is a name that people should be familiar with. And I bring out Saul Alinsky not because I say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but his ideas ran afoul of a guy named Tom Hayden. There's another name out there that people might be familiar with. But Tom Hayden seems to have more of a hold over the anti-war movement, progressive movement today, given his stature as a Vietnam War activist. But Tom Hayden is somebody who believes in the concept of, activist citizens. We all have a voice. We're all equal. We all have a say in what's going on. Nobody's my boss. I'm an individual. And as a result, you have this flat-line organizational structure where everybody has a say and nothing gets accomplished. Saul Alinsky believed in the concept of the citizen, or the citizen activist, meaning that you bought into a principle, but then you allow yourself to become organized. Somebody had to make a decision. There had to be a leader. There had to be followers. People have to focus on doing a specific task, and you can't do everything. Somebody has to cook the food. Somebody has to deliver the food. Somebody has to print the pamphlets. Not everybody gets to write the manifesto. And as a result, the labor movement, when Saul Alinsky was involved, was very well organized and achieved significant results. The anti-war movement today needs to organize a similar structure. And there are models out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And ironically, one of the best models out there is available free of charge thanks to the United States government. One only has to go to the FEMA website. Because they teach what's called Incident Command Systems, ICS. Not how it's discovered. It's a very like front start. Big fires. Because when they have the big fires, you have local fire departments, county fire departments, city fire departments, state fire departments, federal fire departments, all come together and say, we got to work together. They couldn't operate. They didn't speak the same language. You're supposed to give me a tanker, somebody brought in a truck. They just went off and did their own thing. As a result, the fires kicked their butts. California came together and said, no, we'll bring everybody together like this and recognize there's different groups. But when we come together, there will be a single commander. And they will all know how to operate under unified command. And that commander will organize his resources and make things happen. Couldn't that happen with United for Peace and Justice, Peace Action, and the other